Sup, y'all? Oh, involve yourself in this. Involve yourself. Involve yourself. Involve yourself in this. Yeah, bro. I call it the rough start and stop. I don't know, freestyle off the top. Yeah, I kind of thought about it right before I started filming. I'm like, yeah, sure. I mean, we'll sing a little something about the title. This is episode 146 of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled Involve Yourself. So hence the little freestyle. Also, I'm not trying to take like the blame off myself for being off tune and off key if I was and if it was me, but here's the thing, is Little Red, the guitar, might be a little bit out of tune actually. The afternoon a couple days ago, plus a few more days before that one, is when I put a new set of strings on this here guitar. And I just haven't played him all that much besides intros of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, and so he still might be falling out of tune a little bit. But you know, me too, so let's get into this. That's the title, like I said, Involve Yourself. We'll get into it. This is episode, the one I said, I feel like I need to play some more guitar. That's why I'm kind of caught up on it. Also, he's capoed on the 2nd fret, which is not what you would normally be hearing all that often, at least, from a guitar. Anyway, I wanted to play a little bit more there to kind of like show that we really do have a fourth of us that is in the Image Clothing Company music, and there's a reason to it. I'm actually good at music. Times and places though, bro, to sing off key. So be like me and try to see if authenticity can be the thing we want to see in our lives, bro. Yeah, so this is where we have discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ in the Image Clothing Company podcast. And there's another fourth of us, and then there's another fourth. And there's actually one more besides this one that is a fourth of us, because that would make a whole out of 4. So we'll talk about In the Image Clothing Company music, and I'll talk about the other 2 as well. Holy cow. And then I'll talk about where clothing sits, and then we'll get into the discussion here on involving yourself and what I mean by that, all the things that I'll get into within this episode on what that means, okay? The point for filming this at all. Audio recording this at all. Some of you are in visual plus audio, and some are in audio only, okay? As your method of reception of this. So, In the Image Clothing Company music, I show sizing and setup of guitars. To not alter our hands, you should never have to massage out your hands, forearms, wrists, shoulders, body. I mean, you feel it in your jaw, right? You feel it in your hips and your feet sometimes. Seriously. No, I show how to size and set up guitars correct to not alter the body. We're doing little tiny motor skills finely with our hands. Sometimes not so fine. Sometimes you listen to the episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled Fine Wine, and things get better over time. And I like to rhyme. Anyway, yeah, there's Metronome Madness, which is a series that I do under In the Image Clothing Company music. And what I do is just go off the top with no metronome, and the tempo's what it is, and it's unorthodox and untraditional, like me. But yeah, there you go, okay? I place music on the Image Clothing Company music that I make, okay, through guitar, through lyricism, singing. I do sing, I really do, you know? When I sing off key, that's when I do that. And then when I don't, then that's when I do that. But there's another fourth of us, which is the main side of the Image Clothing Company. And we address the anatomy of the human body. The key phrase is always allowing the human body to work. It's just a mechanical machine placed onto a rock in space. We have to abide by things like the law of gravity. There's a neutral to every joint, like the neutral wrist, easy to show on video. Straight out the outside of the forearm, down the pinky finger. Then you have rotations to your forearm, and you have both directions that your arm can move, okay? Your wrist, really, from that neutral part of it. But the body has a center line as well. The sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, and our jaw is also in the center, but it stabilizes the entire body naturally. On Earth's gravity, with 2 feet opposing the center line, gripping arches inward, that's how we stand up. That's how we stay vertical, right? There's a center of gravity to everything, and there's a center to the human being, and so we need to keep those 2 things in alignment. And we place clothing onto our bodies, and it alters the human being if it's not staying centered, fitting correct, where I'll discuss in a minute, and being made from 100% natural materials, because the human body is natural as well. Materials alter the body just as much as sizing imbalance, okay? If they're unnatural, synthetic, man-made, a lot of things nowadays tend to be being produced that way by a lot of people, a lot of companies, and it's cheaper, it's fake. Truly. So, yeah, there you go, right? We have in the Image Clothing Company clothing where and when we do. InTheImageClothingCompany.com, you'll find human being clothing. The reason why I say human being clothing is because we also talk about eating, sleeping, standing, walking, sitting, breathing, hydration, all the things we do as a human being, and doing them naturally, as we do on our other fourth, in the Image Clothing Company poodles. We specialize in purebred standard poodles. We breed them, registering them under the American Kennel Club, properly doing all these things, advocating for doing so, giving your dogs birth certificates. There's reasons for it. Furthering good bloodlines of dogs. We talk about mutts being mutts. Yikes, I'm not being offensive. But it's for the health of the dog and the benefit of the owner as well. Poodle Parade events is where we get together. Bring your purebred poodles. Bring your poodle mixes, even though I call mutts mutts. Yeah, bring them. No, seriously. And any size of those 2 types of dogs. The state of Utah, the United States of America, come here. Have a good time, okay? We'll hang out with dogs. A lot of it will just be spending time in nature. A lot of it will be me giving information on letting dogs stay natural, okay? Through the things that I talked about with human beings. Eating, well, okay, I'll word it like this. Feeding, okay? Giving your dogs hydration, collars, leashes, harnesses, staying centered, fitting correct, allowing the dogs to work, right? 100% natural materials where we can, we will have those, as well as the human being clothing. That was my little segue there a minute ago, is I was coming into this, okay? Yeah. A lot of cool stuff, man. Things for the environment, okay? Clean the Creek Poodle Parade events as one of the avenues of what we do, actually picking up trash. I made a video yesterday titled An Introduction to Clean the Creek Poodle Parade events. And I was out by a river near where I live currently. And I walked around, and it's about 25 minutes, give or take, long, the video. I discussed a lot of what Clean the Creek specific Poodle Parade events will look like, and I actually picked up trash as I walked around, and I showed how much trash there was just in this little area that I didn't plan on even knowing if there was trash there or not. I didn't even plan on picking it up, but one of the first things I grabbed was a grocery bag, plastic. And so I used that and put the garbage in it, as I talked about that's really pretty much what we're going to be doing at Clean the Creek Poodle Parade events, as well as a lot of other things, right? Getting dogs used to water, getting human beings used to water, and then all the information I give. But really the foundational basis of all of it is just being in God's nature and experiencing life with our dogs, okay? Coming together, congregating, if you will. And guess what? Involving yourself. No joke. And that's a big part of what we'll talk about here is how to involve yourself under In the Image Clothing Company, okay? But really, the gospel of Jesus Christ is the point. It's the truth of all things. So, clothing for everybody has to sit in the same location. If you're a man or woman, if you're tall or short, if you're skinny or fat, any age, any part of the earth, any time period to ever be, your pants need to be entirely above your hips. because then you're not restricting your hips from your pants. Slightly higher in the front than the rear for the waistband angle, because that's just the position our hips would naturally be in if we didn't have clothing on us and nothing was altering our bodies. Posteriorly tucked. Okay, the front comes up, that contracts the core muscles. In the abdomen, it contracts the hamstrings. On the rear of the body, it allows the feet to grip arches and activate. It allows your shoulders to stay in their neutral position, which is behind the head. We'll go to there. Tops have seams on top of our shoulders. They need to sit evenly behind the peak of our shoulders because our shoulders only ever work behind our head. Okay, that's just where they connect. And then our edges of our tops need to sit right at the edges of our shoulders as close as we can get with those seams. That's just where the functionality of the joint is. And there you go. Two things we have as prerequisites under In The Image Clothing Company are how to weave a rope across the top of the human foot without altering its only workings is In The Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique. That's what we title it. And we tie our shoes also evenly over toward the inside on the human body to the center line on both feet because there's two sides to the body, so we have to do opposing knots on opposing sides to make it equal. Opposition in all things, as we talk about within the gospel of Jesus Christ, aka the truth of all things. Secondly, we remove all tags from clothing. Anywhere a tag is placed in clothing, it's just causing either a physical gap, changing the body's only working position, and or just not allowing musculature to activate, but no compensation can happen within a body that's all connected all ways and everything has a role it plays and it needs to. So yeah, In The Image Clothing Company Poodles, I think that's going to be a really cool thing is, having, well, if I do any more videos on any other like type of Poodle Parade events that we will have, but that one specific that I made yesterday, Clean the Creek Poodle Parade events, now there's a video where you can see kind of like a walkthrough, like a demonstration of what it will really look like when we have Poodle Parade events, right? We specialize in standard size poodles. And so beware, right? Meaning we'll make a disclaimer, as I've said, but some events we will actually have some pretty decent hikes. I myself don't like, super grueling hikes. I don't. I'm so casual and I like to walk more than hike, and I do a lot of walking. I'm so tan right now, dude. I mean, I'm not even trying to like exaggerate. I'm in some lighting right now that's not all that lit in this room, but I am so tan. I just tan easily, well, I guess if you will. I don't burn or like peel. I just tan. Usually, at least, right? Once I got a good base layer going in the summer months here in Utah. But I just like to walk so much, and I'm not really anticipating like, at least all that many like pretty intense hikes, but just, we'll make disclaimers on InTheImageClothingCompany.com when we schedule every event we have. Some of them will be pretty decent hike, right? So I say bring any size of poodle or poodle mix, but some of those smaller dogs, they'll just have a harder time on bigger hikes, as I've, disclaimed, if you will, in the past. So yeah. But that is a big thing, products. I mean, that's really at least the majority of where our income will come under In The Image Clothing Company is clothing sales and dog product sales, poodles as well, the actual puppies, right? But no, as of today's date, we still do not yet have products available to sell, but I talk about them, and maybe I need to talk about it a little bit clearer in the times that I do. I think so, because I kind of brush over it. I talk about, clothing needs to sit in this location. Ideally, it's 100% natural, stays centered, and fits correct, because there's only one way the human body could ever work. But, I don't really make it all that clear every time I say it, at least up until now. I haven't. That's the point of our sales and our products is, yes, clothing and dog products. We're not just about having fun events, and we're not just about giving free modifications and information about where clothing needs to sit, but we'll sell stuff that you don't have to modify, and that'll be awesome. Everything but shoes, basically, bro. You'll see. I mean, I'll see too, right? We don't have anything yet, but clothing, okay? It's the only fix to human beings' physical problems. It's the only thing placed physically on us. So we go to other things to try to fix our physical function, while our mechanical machine is being inhibited by its ranges of emotion. Because I was just walking actually a little bit since church. It's a Sunday today. And yeah, I was thinking about, the importance of short sleeves. I talk about it. We've got videos under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company talking about short sleeves, right? Keeping short sleeves short, but you have to keep your short sleeves off your forearm. If you can't fully bend your elbow, then things like your hand/wrist or your shoulder, just things on the opposite ends of the elbow, are going to compensate. But then if either of those things try to compensate, it travels down your spine to your hips, rotates your hips, travels down your legs to your feet. Now your feet are changed because of a sleeve. Might be nice and light, thin, light cotton t-shirt, let's say, just for the sake of, not much restriction weight-wise, but sensory-wise, it's on your forearm, and there's rotations in your forearm, and there's a full range of motion, completely closed and completely extended, and it can't be affected by something in its way. So that's one of the big things, just simple stuff like that. The dreaded collar seam modification, the rotated seams modification under In The Image Clothing Company. Check it out, look it up, right? Keeping collars centered, keeping tongue tabs out of shoes, those things that hold the laces in the center. Well, really, they hold the tongue of the shoe in the center of where the laces are, but our feet don't work like that. Our feet roll inward with the outward curvature of the lower leg from the heel up the neutral ankle through the lower leg's actual bone structures, outward curvature to the knee. So yeah, emphasis on internal rotation. I do this sometimes. I say little tidbits of information here that I've said before, but like I kind of sprinkle them in areas where in the Image Clothing Company podcast, I make it clear to call it the truth of all things, the gospel of Jesus Christ. And we discuss that here, and when I say that, often I'll say, because it's the case, whenever you're just discussing truth, things as they are, you're discussing the gospel of Jesus Christ, because Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life, right? The truth is just another name for God, our one and only God as human beings created by the same one. That's who he is, and that's how we know who he is, because he tells us who he says that he is, and we don't have a say. There's an episode of In The Image Clothing Company podcast titled, We Don't Have a Say. It's really titled, We Have No Say, actually, word for word. But that's the case. So here's the thing about what I was just saying is I like to just sprinkle little tidbits of information like that in, because sometimes on In The Image Clothing Company podcast, you'll get some deep insights that you might not really be able to get unless you go find specific videos under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company to find out things about like how tongue tabs in shoes affect body mechanics, which is one of our videos, right? How shoe tongue tabs affect body mechanics. I made that in the fall of 2024. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of little things like this, because even removing tags, that goes with the shoes as well, in the tongues or anywhere inside of them. So I'll sprinkle little things in there, here and there. Not because none of it's hidden. It's not like you better come like really, really read into this to find it. But you do get a lot actually from In The Image Clothing Company podcast, and I'm the one delivering it, and I'm the one saying that, and so I'm not trying to talk myself up. But that's the reason why we have this. That's the reason why I sit here on the carpet of this bedroom at this time, right? Is for actually giving truthful information. I gave a talk in church today, man. That was good. That was fun. That was really great. I love to speak. We've got 146 after this one episodes of In The Image Clothing Company podcast. And we do so much through video on all four sides of In The Image Clothing Company, and always will. I call it the gift of video. Anyway, I just like to be able to speak information. It's really cool to be able to document it. So there you go. Just discussing things as they are to the best of my sinful by nature abilities. We're all just sinful. Adam was the first one. He decided to listen to Eve when she offered him a fruit. Yeah. Anyway, that's how it is. So here we go. Let's talk about involving yourself. In The Image Clothing Company podcast, episode 146, that's the title, Involve Yourself. This is a big thing. My current bishop, within the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we have what's called bishops, and they are over what's called a ward, okay? A ward is just the people who live in close physical proximity to you, right? Like in a neighborhood or a town, who go to the same actual church building as you. Because especially here in Utah, this is the central place on the earth for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The church headquarters are in Salt Lake City, Utah. Check this out. Those in visual plus audio. I've got a shirt right now that says Utah on it. On the front here, you can see. It does say Utah, doesn't it? Yeah. I know it says Highway 6, but yeah. I love Utah. There's an episode of In The Image Clothing Company podcast titled Utah. For a lot of reasons, that help you understand what to expect under events you can come to when you're involving yourself within the Image Clothing Company. Okay, poodle parades and then whatever else we do when I'm just talking with people about like the main side of the Image Clothing Company allowing the human body to work. Okay, but poodle parades, dude, that's gonna be a huge thing always. So many events under poodles. Okay, in the Image Clothing Company, poodles, a big name in poodles, always. Seriously, yes, for the sake of credibility and what we're doing movement-wise and doing things properly. Yeah, so anyway, we have bishops, and yeah, they're over the ward of our church, right? Just kind of like the group of many groups. We're the body of Christ, the body of Jesus Christ. Those of us who are disciples of God, right? Followers of the one and only true God, Jesus the Christ. Across the earth, right? Even if you're not a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, if you're just a member of another Christian church, and notice how I'm just talking down on you. If you're just a member of another Christian church. But I will say, no, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is the restored fullness of the gospel of Jesus Christ today. There's been a lot of churches throughout history. A lot of them have a lot of good in them. But this is the actual restored fullness of God running his church in present day. Don't take my word for it. I've said so many times under In the Image Clothing Company content, don't believe me, anything I ever say, right? Seriously. But the truth within what I say, that's what you can take. You don't have to believe it or not. Truth is truth, right? Believe it or not, don't. That's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company Podcast's title. But yeah, the bishops over the ward. Okay, so there's many bishops across the earth to kind of like be in the place of Jesus Christ metaphorically. You know, Jesus Christ is our shepherd and we are his sheep. Okay, he's got us numbered as a shepherd would his sheep. Often, at least, that's how they are. People who do have sheep and rely on them, or other animals as well, you know, but sheep for the sake of, that's how it's worded here in the gospel of Jesus Christ, right? In scripture, in the Book of Mormon, the Holy Bible. Shepherds do know their sheep by name. Their sheep by name, right? In real life, like as far as, yes, the gospel is real life, the gospel of Jesus Christ, but I mean like in a tangible understanding type of way in modern day. If you go find a shepherd, often they'll be able to, you know, tell you what sheep is what, and they'll be able to, you know, really pick apart, even if they've got a lot of sheep, when one's missing and stuff like that, right? That's what Jesus Christ says. He'll leave the 99 sheep on the mountain to go find the one that went astray, and then he'll rejoice more over the one that went astray than the 99 that never left. You know, and metaphorically that means, well, literally, but you know, through the parable, what he's saying, God, to us, is anybody who's fallen away from truth, God will rejoice more over just one person that comes back than 99 who just never left. And that's the truth. So for those of you out there that are on some crazy paths in life and realize you need to get back to just some solid ground, right? Firm ground, one of these past episodes of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. Yeah, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, that's the place you'll do it. More than any place you could ever choose to attend or go to in any way on this earth, okay? Don't take my word for it. But you can see in my life how things work, how things just are, and you can just see it in members of God's church, because he takes care of his sheep, right? When we're doing what we can to follow him. Never perfectly, just because that's impossible for a human being to be in this life. But yeah, so the bishop. When I got rebaptized, holy cow, you guys are getting a whole load of stories here already. I feel like I'm like telling a lot of stories. That's how I feel like this has gone so far. First, you know, a little bit into this episode. I like that. Okay, I left the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints willingly, okay, which wasn't good at all. But about 13 months, I was not a member anymore, and then I got rebaptized into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints the second time around. Is the episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast where you can hear that story. That was just a few months ago, about February-ish, give or take, of this year, 2025, when I got rebaptized. And when I was meeting with that bishop, which is still my current bishop, he told me one of the big things is just involving yourself. You know, this is a big thing. There's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled Mind the Gap. And that's one of the big things I talked about is mind the gap between you and the things that you know you should be doing that sometimes you get a little bit far from, right? Following the commandments of God, reading your scriptures, going to church, doing the simple things that don't really seem like they could do all that much at times. Those are the big things, right? Yeah. The little things are very often the biggest things, actually, right? In impact measurement. Yeah, they are. Almost always. I mean, we talk about minimalism a lot here. There's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled Minimalism. I think there is one titled something about the little things. Something like that is the title. Yeah, there is for sure. But that's what I mean is we talk about how the little things are so big. And some little things like involving yourself in an activity or in like a event in any way that's related to, surrounding, geared around, which is the same as surrounding the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or just God himself, Jesus Christ, like a Bible study, a Book of Mormon study, a ward prayer, which we actually have tonight, right, where we just get together with the ward, come and meet, and somebody prays for us over the ward, and we just kind of spend some time together, and there's a lot of activities that happen in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I'm actually on what's called the Activities Committee in my ward, and I help set up and schedule and plan the activities that we do. One night a week we'll have activities that we have planned through that committee. So there's a lot that happens actually in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints besides just, and this isn't a bad thing, but I know that sometimes people just want to do a little bit more involvement that's like movement-wise or whatever. It's not always just sitting there reading scriptures. It's not always just sitting there, in like some super extra reverent state of being, where you feel like you can't talk and, right? God is always, God is now, and God is spirit and truth. God is not just a building that has a steeple on top. Okay? He's not, only because he's everything. He's the great I am. And we do a lot under and in and through the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that are activities, bringing people together. And that's cool. I didn't even think about that really so much. Yeah, at all, as far as putting that in this or even that relating to this when I was thinking of making this episode. Like when I was coming in the room here, and thinking earlier at church. Yeah, it was at church as far as I know, or right after church. Anyway, today I thought about the title, Involve Yourself. And, I've been thinking about that, but, of making it an episode, which is now what you're hearing if you are listening to me this instant, right? Of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. But I'm on the activities committee. I didn't even really correlate those two things together today when I was thinking about this so much. That's weird. I'm kind of dancing around it because I don't want to say that I didn't when I did, but I don't want to say that I did just because it, seems like how couldn't I have thought of that? Because I even talked about the activities committee today at church. But anyway, no, I think the big thing that I'm getting, why I'm flustered with this right now, is because it hits me. Yeah, I'm actually on a committee. It's a calling, right? Like a responsibility. We have callings within the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to have the church run, right? Because that's the thing, is you've got a committee that'll help with this thing, a committee that'll help with that thing, and then all the other things that need to happen, and so that everybody can make it happen together. And that's what brings us together. That's what allows us to involve ourselves. Anyway, so the bishop told me that's one of the big things, just keep involving yourself. And at that time, I actually was, because I had started coming back to church for a little while before, I got rebaptized. And that's what I was doing, is coming to every activity that I knew about, give or take. Okay, but pretty much, yeah. And we actually have a lot in the ward that I'm going to, something just about every single night, which is awesome. sports night. Well, this is, yeah, I'll talk about it deeper than just saying that we have stuff, because that's what the point of this is too, is bringing people to the gospel of Jesus Christ through the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We have sports nights, we have, yeah, ward prayers, activities through the activities committee. We have Institute, which is, you know, I've talked about it actually quite a bit on in the Image Clothing Company podcast, but it's like a Sunday school class, but during the week in the evenings, right? People are off school, off work, those that do that. It's at 7 p.m. normally, at least around here. That's what it is. And so there's a lot that you can involve yourself in. There really is. And then, there's barbecues a lot of the time, and there's conferences. There's a YSA is what we abbreviate it, the Young Single Adults, people like 18 to 30, give or take, within the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That's actually the ward that I'm in is one of those. They call them Young Single Adult wards, where there's no kids and there's no older adults. It's for peers to get together and have award that's basically just people that are pretty darn close to your age. And then as people are dating and getting married and in similar, time period of life, that's a good place for them to get together and, relate more. Then sometimes people feel like they can't relate, when it comes to being like an older adult, or sometimes people feel like they can't relate to kids when they're in like this young single adult type of phase of life. There's a lot that's happening at that age. Starting a career, buying a house, having a family, maybe doing none of those things, but you're just still that age, right? I mean, you don't have to be in any kind of like statistic group to still just be the same age that you are, right? But anyway, yeah, so that's a big thing, because I'm not really any of those things necessarily. I'm not trying to start like some career for the sake of money. I'm not, involved with anybody right now. I'm like getting ready to marry, like this instant, I'm not looking to buy a house, although kinda, I mean, yeah, got some stuff going on. But that's the thing, is we've all got our own situations, and that's the whole point about it. Involve yourself with other human beings, bro, who are followers of God. And then you get some deep insights on life, I like to sit on some things for a second, like the ground, the earth that God created. That's a good place to sit. So here's the thing. The more you involve yourself, it's like what I say under In the Image Clothing Company, and specifically in the Image Clothing Company podcast, right? If you've got a problem with us, stick around. And that's why I say that, is the same reason I'm having this episode here titled Involve Yourself. The more information you get, the more you can understand. That what I say normally is deeper context brings deeper understandings, and we have deep context on things, okay? I talk about stuff thoroughly, in depth. It's one of the biggest gifts I've been given by God, is just speaking, delivering information. That's, like I said, I give a talk today in church, and I don't want this to sound like there's like a necessarily a right way to do it. But, a lot of times people will write something out and get up there and read it. And I'm not, again, we're all different. We all think in different ways and process things differently. But I didn't write anything for my talk, and I didn't have any like notes or anything. And the reason I'm saying that, not to sound like I'm just better at like remembering what to say than others, but I'm correlating that with what I just said on, it's a gift I've been given by God to speak. So in the Image Clothing Company podcast, I love so much because, and I've said this, on past episodes, but that's the point, yeah. This is what I love to do. It's what I'm really good at. And I'm talking about the most important thing you could ever talk about, which is God. And I'm not doing it perfectly ever, right? But anyway, I guess I just say that to say I'm grateful to be able to have spoken in church today, because I haven't given a talk in church in a long time. It's been a long time for sure. Years, definitely. I mean, most definitely years. A lot of them. I mean, I was probably at least a teenager last time. I'm 26 now, so. Yeah, but this is one thing, too, that's really great about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and this is what I mean by involving yourself. There are other Christian churches, and some of them are seriously quite wonderful, truly, right? To the degree that they are. They're missing some truths, right? Sharpen your pitchforks. I get it, right? Who am I to say? But none of us have a say. God is who he says that he is, though. And you just get the fullness of, the peace and love of Jesus Christ in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It just, it's true. Yes. And that might not even make sense. How is a church true? You mean they talk about things that kind of end up being something that could have been true or something? It's like, well, it's like how you say God is true, right? The Book of Mormon is true. It's like, what does that even mean? Again, stick around. Truth is truth. In the Image Clothing Company podcast, we give a lot of context on things here, okay? So the big thing is, at some of these other Christian churches, even though sometimes you've got amazing sermons being delivered, usually you just have a pastor or like a preacher or whoever, whatever they're labeled as, just one person that's standing up there and delivering the message of Jesus Christ. And that's great. It is. But within the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we have the opportunity to involve ourselves with the teaching. It's crazy, actually. This is amazing. And this is what I mean, when I talked about how when I talk about, because I have multiple times, it's such a great thing that I removed my records from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints for about 13 months and then came back, because it gave me a lot of perspective that I just couldn't otherwise have had to quite the same extent in quite the same way. And I went to some other Christian churches, and like I'm saying, they really were great in a lot of ways. But we have the opportunity on the first Sunday of each month is, I think, how it always is. At least that's how it usually is, the first Sunday of each month. We call it Fast Sunday. Fast and Testimony Meeting is what our first hour is at church, our first meeting in the actual chapel. And you can get up and come up there to the stand and share your testimony of Jesus Christ. Share your testimony of the restored church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Share your testimony of the Book of Mormon. Share your testimony of all these things, okay? Whatever it comes to surrounding God himself, Jesus the Christ. And yeah, anybody in the congregation can do it. So in a ward that's not just a young single adult ward, right, the YSA, we have wards that are just, everybody that lives in the area. So little children and elderly people and everybody in between. Everybody from any kind of ethnicity, background, whatever, black, white, anybody from any islands, anybody from any kind of Asian continent or country or something that must be labeled as racism nowadays for the sake of trying to make a thing better or something, but actually you're running in a circle trying to talk about something to make it better rather than just letting it be what it is because things are just what they are. Wow. Anyway, yeah, raising the bar. I'd rather lower it. It's easier to do things a lot of the time than we try to make it be out of our own doings. But here's the thing is, yeah, anybody in the congregation can come up and involve themselves in bearing their testimony of God. And so, wow, that was quite the rhyme I just did there. That's what I mean, Metronome Madness, I do stuff like that. It's really great on In the Image Clothing Company music. Check it out. I'm a lyricist, brother. Check it out, seriously. In the Image Clothing Company music. I don't talk about it that often. I've said that recently. It's something I haven't been, at least, talking about all that often, as far as, like, on the other forwards of In the Image Clothing Company, like, giving awareness about it, the fact that it's there, more than just what I say in the intros. Like, I really am good with music. That's something that you don't need to believe me about, but check it out. I really, really do a lot of musical stuff. And I do... See how it hits me? That's what I mean. Like, yeah. I'm going to be a professional guitarist one of these days. I don't know which day it is, though. I'll choose a day, and then, I'll live it up for just 24 hours, right? Anyway, just want to make it silly because it's real. It's crazy. Yeah, but you can involve yourself and bear your testimony, and that's really beneficial. Sharing your own testimony strengthens your own testimony, but then it also strengthens others as well. Yeah, it brings people to Jesus Christ to talk about Jesus Christ. Again, that's what I do here under In the Image Clothing Company podcast, and it strengthens my testimony, but it also can strengthen anybody else's who comes across this. So, involving yourself, there's a lot of ways to, okay? And yeah, we give talks. That's what I was saying. Not only just bearing our testimony on fast Sundays, but each sacrament meeting, which is that first meeting of the Sunday, right? There's 2 hours to church at this time, at least. First meeting is in the chapel. We take the sacrament, right? The bread and the water, which is in resemblance or remembrance of the body and the blood of Jesus Christ that was shed for us. We, take his name upon us, and we renew the covenants we made to him through the covenants that we make within the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, two-way promises to God. Yeah, it's kind of like a reset for the week, and it's kind of a, place to really keep us centered with God throughout our life. And what we do in that meeting as well is have, 2, sometimes 3, give or take, people give a talk, so instead of having a pastor, which isn't always bad or wrong, sometimes that's amazing, right? But, it's not always just one person. That's the point. Is everybody from the congregation, at least who gets called to give a talk that week or one of the weeks that they're within the ward, some people just about never give talks, but everybody has the opportunity to get up there and give a talk. They're given a topic and they say, yeah, just give us a message on this, for the whole congregation of the ward. So that's what I did today, and the message was, "Blessed be the peacemakers," which is one of the lines, one of the quotes, one of the commandments, in a sense. Yeah, commanded to be a peacemaker in all the ways that we can, but that was delivered through Jesus Christ's Sermon on the Mount. And then again to the Nephites here in the Americas, in the Book of Mormon, which was, yikes, I don't want to wipe my nose, but it's kind of dripping, which doesn't happen to me all that often. I don't like that. Anyway, yeah, in the Book of Mormon, there's, that's where the record is of that happening. So anyway, I give a talk and it was cool, but that's the big thing, is just, yeah, involving yourself. It was cool for me, cool for other people. People are grateful. They're like, wow, your words touched me. And I'm like, wow, I'm glad that I gave them. It's touched me to be able to speak on God, because that's what I love to do, is share him, as we're commanded to do. Yeah, golly, I feel like I need to wipe my nose. Also, maybe I need to wrap this up soon. I kind of feel like we're getting close to being done with this. I'm getting prompted. I don't know, something just shifted in a good way. I think we're just about, where we need this discussion to be, for all that it needs to be for this episode of In the Image Clothing Company Podcast, episode 146, titled "Involve Yourself." But anyway, there just is a lot of ways to involve yourself. This is a big thing, is the world will tell you to be reclusive. In other words, go hide out, hide away. You've done something wrong, right? Go to the corner. Within the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and God himself, when we've done something wrong, we run to God, the only one that can actually fix our problems, right? The world will teach you, go hide away and, deal with your problems on your own. God, which is what that title means, right? It's not just his name, but God. I mean, the God of all, the creator of all, the one who knows all from the beginning and end. He tells us, no, you've done something wrong? Cool. I expect it. You're a human being. You're not perfect, but I am, says God to us. Jesus Christ himself is who that is, right? One God, an episode of In the Image Clothing Company Podcast's title. Holy heavens. Anyway, so we need to, I feel like I need to wrap this up pretty quick, so I will. But we need to involve ourselves. When things get hard, when things get rough, when we feel like we want to cast ourselves out, we need to actually involve ourselves more in godly things. And no better place to do that than the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Okay, so I'll end with this. One thing with In the Image Clothing Company is that, okay, there's a lot of ways to involve yourself through all the events, and you can involve yourself in being an advocate with us. Okay, we advocate for a lot of things. Nature, for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, for truth in a world of a lot of opinions, for proper breeding of dogs, for allowing the human body to work, right? For being good owners of dogs. There's a lot with poodles, actually, that comes with advocating and what we do here under In the Image Clothing Company. But anyway, you can involve yourself in advocating for these things, sharing what we do, but also physically, literally, you can evolve yourself. Holy cow! Only through Jesus Christ, and you can, right? Come how you are, come as you are, he says, and then you'll be completely changed. Look at my life, right? I'm using myself as the example because I didn't do it. But I've changed so much just since the founding of In the Image Clothing Company. What's documented here for anybody on the earth to be able to see, because it's placed on the internet, and that's where it goes. It's all across our planet, which is nuts, but it's the case. So involving yourself, though, you can actually come to events. They'll almost certainly just about all, maybe even all, only be in the state of Utah, the United States of America. But yeah, wherever you are, you can come. But then in all the ways, right? Even just wearing our clothing, you can involve yourself in what we're doing. You don't have to purchase our clothing for us, but it will help us because that's, again, where a lot of our income, monetary value-wise, will actually come from, is clothing sales. We are a clothing company, after all. But also, you can involve yourself in what we're doing as far as just allowing the human body to work by wearing our clothing, purchasing our dog products, but just sharing what we do. Anyway, I do want to make it very clear. There are ways to involve yourself in the Image Clothing Company, and I have made that very clear, and I'll continue to where I do. We're not some just distant company. We're not a business, right? We're a community. We're a familial place, like a family is what that word means. So yeah, we're centered around the gospel of Jesus Christ, rooted in God and his ever-present living word. Not perfectly, because none of us ever could be, but involve yourself in what we do. Come to events, because that's why we have them. We can't have events where we gather people together without people coming to gather together, right? So there are a lot of ways you can involve yourself with what we do, okay? So just remember that 5-word company name as a whole, In the Image Clothing Company. Remember the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Maybe you were a member, maybe you are a member, and you just haven't gone in a while. Maybe you removed your records, maybe you got your records removed in some way, but maybe there's something you need to do to involve yourself more now that you're realizing. Maybe you just have had a bad experience in the past on what you thought the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was. Maybe you've just heard things on the internet or from a friend or from somebody who's here, there, anybody, or what, right? Involve yourself. Come to the source, see what things actually are. Like I say, deeper context brings deeper understandings, and you can't get deeper context without coming to the thing, right? Meaning coming to God, coming to church, or under In the Image Clothing Company. Yeah, you can't involve yourself more with us unless you involve yourself with us, right? So involve yourself. There you go, okay? Stick around for the poodles, and check out the other 3 sides of In the Image Clothing Company if you'd like to. The state of Utah is so beautiful. I'm going to just talk about it when I do. I love it. I love it so much. I always have loved Utah since I was little. Yes. Yes. I love it so much. So anyway, thank you. Today's oh boy, I think it's the 13th. Might be the 12th. It's Sunday of July 2025. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. So thank you. Okay. We've got a lot to do here. We really do. And I am planning these events. It's not something, I know sometimes people really hype things up and really talk about things and they just never happen. There's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled Do More, Say Less. And that's actually a lot of what I talked about in there is just, don't talk about things so much, but just do them, right? I am talking about these events quite a lot before they happen so that they can be understood before they happen, right? So you know what to expect and things. But that's what I mean is, yeah, we are leading up to some big things to happen. We'll be here for life, okay? The life of me, at least, Evan Strong, in the Image Clothing Company will be a thing, and as it is today, right? And that's what I mean. That's why I'm really, really pushing a lot of things now as far as awareness of what will be able to be involved. Okay. What you will be able to involve yourself in is what I mean, event-wise, because we'll do so much under events, meaning together as people. where you're not just only sitting there watching videos of ours. You're not just only able to purchase, our products under In The Image Clothing Company, but at least a lot of people, and in a lot of ways, you'll be able to actually involve yourself physically with us. It's not about us, definitely not about me. Please leave me alone, right? I mean, be respectful of my distance, and I don't want it to be about me at all, ever, at all. But, bringing people together, it'll be great always to do that. So there you go. Thank you.